It's always a surprise. So welcome, bienvenue to this lovely place on Treaties 6 and 8, both sides of the Athabasca, and Métis Territory, Region number 4, also known as the Jasper Library. Our Genius Loci sessions are generously supported by the Friends of the Library Society and by the Canada Council for the Arts. These two groups fund the Writer in Residency program. My name is Paulette Blanchet-Dubé, and I am the Writer in Residence. And tonight's genius is Tammy Anderson. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Latin, Genius Loci is the genie of the place. The genie as in what's special about the place, or like a protector, a guardian spirit of the place. So our location is here in the library, and our genius are people that have demonstrated through their creativity the ability to be of this place, take in this place, and then show people a good way to be and to live. So we'll start off with some questions, I'll be asking the questions, and then Tammy will read from her book, Losing Emily. So Tammy, hi, welcome.
Thank you.
How long have you lived in Jasper?
Oh gosh, I've lived here probably since I was 3 or 4 when my mom and I moved here, and went to school here, both of the schools I was lucky enough to go to, and then after graduation I moved to Calgary and went to the Mount Royal College where I took my early childhood education.
And then you came back?
We came back in 90, oh gosh, this feels like forever ago, 96, and we've been here since.
See, that's what Santina said, that there's something that draws you back to this place all the time. She's left and come back and left and come back, and so I can totally understand that. Yeah. Can you describe your childhood living in a national park?
Well, I feel very blessed to actually have grown up here. Excuse me, thank you for your grace, as sometimes my squirrel brain. So I wrote the things down so I didn't miss the important parts.
No, it's just totally cash.
Right?
Cash.
I know,
yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was pretty blessed to grow up here and to raise my family here, and it's just, very grateful to have had a wonderful childhood. I don't know many other schools where at recess on the intercom you can have the principal saying, stay away from the elk on the schoolyard, don't chase the geese around. So yeah. That's kind of unique about growing up here,
When we first moved here, I remember my aunt, this is 30 years ago as well, but my aunt had said, oh my God, I can't believe that you're moving to a place where there's bears wandering the streets and, on and on and on. And I never even thought about it until we got here and then realized, holy crap, yeah.
Yeah.
There's bears, there were elk, rutting elk. I remember Raymond had to hide behind one of the big rocks in the field because the elk wouldn't let him get close to the school, like before the fence was put all the way around.
Yes,
yeah, it's fun. It's so fun. I think I would rather have wild animals though to have to contend with rather than, what they have to contend with in the city as far as your child going to school and, being abducted or whatever. This way, at least, it's an animal, and you can run. And
yeah, exactly.
Nikki said she rolled under cars when the elk were coming. So you're very fit.
That's right.
Very
That's
fit
right.
to live
Absolutely.
Here. Yeah. So you went to school to both of these?
I did. Yeah.
And were there any influential teachers?
I think we're so lucky and blessed that the teachers and the staff that we have at both schools here are phenomenal. And we're lucky to have them for our kids. That's an interesting question.
It can go both ways.
It can, and there was good, and there was maybe 1 or 2 not so good. But I think either way, they teach us lessons, right?
Yeah,
they can teach us lessons.
Still a teacher, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Was there any one in particular that would say, "Oh, Tammy, you're a genius. This is what you need to do. You need to be a writer or a dancer." Or
no,
nobody was that.
No,
well, I think
not that I can remember anyway.
There might have been. Yes, I did find Yes, I did. This was the best part of just sort of doing some research and whatnot. I found Sunshine on Our Pathways, the anthology where all good writers get their start. And we have Tammy Workstrand in grade 9. Would you like to read it, or shall I?
Oh, please read it.
Okay. As I walked down the almost abandoned alley, a figure caught my eye. It was a girl, slumped over a garbage can, scrounging for food. She was quite grubby looking and wore an old torn skirt and matching shirt. Her face, a pale color, made her look ill. Hiding her face was a mask of long, stringy hair, and when I looked into her large brown eyes, I felt a wave of sadness and pity for her, and it swept over me. She seemed to be very cold and unfeeling, a misfit, not let anyone near her. Because she secluded herself from society, she seemed to always be alone. As I walked away, I saw her propped up against a wall, shivering in the cold, black night. I think that speaks a lot to the fact that you didn't write poetry, so you wanted to write a narrative. You know that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the first time I have heard that. I don't even
In a very long time.
I don't even remember writing that, honestly. That's so funny.
I love that, just the raw sort of sadness of a junior high student. You know, you can see that, but you can also see the empathy that kids still have. We don't have, I don't think, a lot of homeless people around.
No.
So where did you think that came from?
I have no idea, honestly. Like, that's a total surprise. I don't even remember writing
Really?
that. No.
Maybe it was an assignment.
It could have been, because it didn't sound like something that I would just sit down, sit down and write.
Talk about a girl in a garbage can.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, who was
I
your
feel
teacher?
really bad for her.
Who was your English teacher?
Grade 9 would have been, I'm thinking Sandy Cox.
Well, that's who
Or
I
Angie
know.
Lanier, but
Yeah.
I think Angie was high school.
Oh, was it?
I think so back then, yeah. I could be wrong, but I think it
I'm
might
not
have
sure
been
what
Sandy.
year that was, but I know that the anthology was for, I think, kindergarten, maybe? There's some drawings,
Oh,
extraordinary artwork in there.
Oh, wow.
And then all the way to grade 12, there's
That's really special
paragraphs
to have
and
a
stuff.
collection like that.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. I think that's better than a yearbook, frankly,
Mm-hmm.
because it really shows what the kids could do.
Oh yeah, it's very
It's great.
Yeah,
Some are
sounds
very
good.
short, some are a little bit longer, but.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so let's dive away from this epic novel type thing to your book. Do you have a copy? Did you just show? Yeah, did you show people? It's called Losing Emily, and I'll just read a bit in case you're not familiar with the book. Losing Emily: A Journey Through Stillbirth to Finding Peace and Embracing Hope. It's a powerful and moving must-read story based on the author's own heartfelt and painful journey of surviving the stillbirth of her daughter, Emily, at 37 and a half weeks of pregnancy. Losing Emily reaches out to help grieving parents as they embark on their journey of healing by offering words and comfort and peace. It's a much-needed connection to someone who's been there and who understands the struggle and true depth of the unimaginable pain of losing a baby. Whether your loss is from miscarriage, stillbirth, or early infant death, there is no greater heartbreak than losing your much-loved and much-wanted child. Through Emily's tragic death, her legacy lives on by sharing a message of new hope to help bereaved parents as they move through the difficult process of healing, while finding new strength and courage to carry on without their child. Publisher was Inkwater Press, and the book was released in February of 2010. So there has been some time between the actual event that precipitated the novel, the writing of the novel, and tonight. So what we'll do is talk a little bit about, because it always fascinates me to see the process that people go through, especially since you're not writing fiction.
Right.
So that is really is different for me as well. It's very like, wow, that's really courageous. I know that you put some oil on before we got started and it was called Valor. And I thought that's what you need.
Look
You
at
need to sort of
courage,
gird your loins and Viking it out, and
Yes.
and you really do. Like it just floors me. So I applaud you for writing a novel. Number one, hell of a job, and number two, the reason why was terrible. To have to do that, to have that inspiration, if you want to call it that. So let's start with that. The question that I had was, does living here influence your book? But maybe not the nature part, but was it helpful to live here? Because we are pretty isolated for something that you went through. Like, was it easier or more difficult, do you think?
That's a good question. Well, I think just being surrounded by like the healing, like I feel the healing of the mountains and nature, and I found that very helpful, processing the grief and stuff like that, as well as being in the smaller community and the amazing people that we have here. We're very supportive.
So you had a good support system within that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go through this horrific thing, and you have your family, and it wasn't your first job, right?
No.
Okay, so you have little
I
ones.
had two older at the
Oh
time.
my God.
Well, and well, at the time, no, I didn't have my third one yet. So yeah, two older ones.
Wow, and a husband and a mom and
my
everything
mom
was here.
and my friends. And
So did you start the book as? Well, maybe I should just ask you. How did you start the book? Like, why would you? A lot of people, the hard part is just processing and living through that kind of stuff. So, what was your, I guess, the motivation for going beyond even just healing, or was this like, was it to find it was part of your healing? Or?
It was I found very therapeutic to, because in essence you have to relive it. Right? To write it. And to share it. But I was given the gift like very soon after, it was like a few days after I got home from the hospital, of a friend of mine in town who had also experienced a loss of her own, like months before we did. And she had reached out to me and sent a card by mail that was like, hey, if you ever want to go for a walk or a talk or anything, and I don't think I'd even really finished reading it, and I was like on the phone.
Finished reading the card?
Yes, please. Can we get together? Because I think it's a special gift to have a connection with someone that gets the depth of the loss. You know what I mean? Like, and that was always something that I wanted to share with others. So like I was kind of like, well, if I put it all down into words, into a book that could be shared, and if it even touches one person or helps one person through the darkness of the grief, the journey of the grief, then my heart was full. Like that's why that was the purpose, the inspiration of writing it.
Wow, that's so courageous, that to know that it's going to help. Like that's so forward-thinking. Do you know what I mean? Like some people just stay mired in that grief, and it taints everything and stains it for like ever. But you had the presence of mind to say, okay, I'm gonna get better. It's gonna be okay, and I'm gonna go forward. Like that is the hope, I think.
Yeah, it's something you don't get over.
Yeah.
But you get through.
Yeah.
You get through.
Yeah.
It gets less raw, right?
And it's still like I was. I have to say I was a little hesitant, I guess, to want to have you as one of the genius, very much because you are of this place and you were one of the first writers that I met here, and I thought it would be so great to, and I knew about your book and I knew how important it was going to be, but I didn't want to, like you didn't want to poke a wound again. So do you think 10, 12 years, whatever, is it okay to talk about it now?
Now, yeah. When I first came home, I was like, I think I remember talking to you about it, that people would come by or phone, and there's some days that were okay, and other days where I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then I would bury it deep down, because I'm a
I'm a digger.
I'll process it later, but let's just
Yeah.
push it down, right, and go get this done, go forward. But now, like, you know, she's a part of our family, and so it feels good to honor her. You know.
Well, how did you pick the? Oh no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Never mind. Okay, so what about a typical day? Like when you were writing,
Right.
how would the day go? Because you're managing kids and a husband and relationships all over the place, and then you sit down and did you just like just write?
Yeah. Well, I was like started it in the summer, so it would have been 2009. Yeah. So I was not working in the summer, and so with a he was a year-old toddler at that time, and two older kids. So yeah, it was busy. Busy. Our days were busy, but I found that when everyone was tucked in at night, that was my time. Like the time that I had chunked out, and I would write, just sit at the computer and write like from 11 at night till like the wee hours of the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock, and then and then he'll be up in an hour. This is awesome. I'm like, okay,
I'm feeling so much better.
Right. I know. I'm like, okay, So, or if I could find like a little chunk in the day, or I could go back and edit it. So I just kind of started with memories or thoughts, or like replaying it, from the beginning,
right.
And then I would like just kind of put down, like, I'm sure it would have like given anyone a headache trying to figure out what I was doing, but I would just go back and then fill it in as I could, like to make the story more understandable to someone that hadn't lived it, like to give more details and fill it in, so you're like, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about now, and I just kind of did that through into the fallish, and then just looked online, because I didn't know anything. I have no degree. It's like nothing I want to be a writer, like nothing like that. So I just kind of started on the internet with looking up publishing.
Oh, cool.
And this Inkwater Press came up, and I contacted them, and they emailed me back, and they said yes, we'd be very interested in submitting it, like give it to us, email it to us.
So did you have to send them like a little, this is what my book is about kind of thing?
And then they asked to see like the draft, right? And then she emailed me back quite quickly, actually. Like the whole process seemed to have gone quite quickly. And she said, yes, we would love to, publish that.
Wow.
And then the process started, and it was like really quickly back and forth, like emails. Thank goodness for email. Like, it was, it was a very interesting process. I learned a lot.
So for those people who haven't quite read the book yet, where do you start in the journey?
I believe it was like beforehand that it was a second marriage for myself and my husband now, and that we wanted, one more baby just between, to complete our family, and then it just kind of goes from there, like from finding out that I was pregnant, the doctor's visits, to the last visit where we found out, and then just kind of throughout. And then it ends at the end with the birth of our son now, who is 14.
So it goes through, like continues on
to after he was born.
Super. That's so important, because I think part of the healing of something is you don't relive just the terrible parts, right? You just, because that's like a car crash, and you just keep doing that car crash over and over and over again. You have to remember, the ambulance came, we went to the hospital, like metaphysically and also
Right.
But so that's a really intelligent way of doing it. No wonder they snapped it up so fast.
Yeah, it wasn't very long, like the time until I got the answer, and they were like, "Yeah, we published that."
So, do you ever write for fun?
I do, and I wish I did more of it. So I'm gonna like commit to that more. But I just sort of, now it's not like books or anything, but I do enjoy journaling and gratitude journals. I find that's very grounding for me. So I've started to do that, and I really enjoy that.
So if you're like journaling, just to go back for a sec, did you, throughout the journey, I should say, did you keep a journal?
No.
Where you weren't writing, nothing at that point?
I should have, looking back now, but no, I didn't.
It would have been a nice easy. Pick up the journal and just
Yeah, exactly. Rather than trying to work from here.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, so just to go back on the process a little bit, when you had the manuscript, then you send it to Inkwater, and they edit.
No, that was all like over and above. You could pay for it to get done, but at that time, we didn't have the funds available to do that. So it was kind of, like, I'm sure it's raw and everything, but I didn't at the time have the funds to do that. Right. So it was kind of just what I had on hand.
Yeah. So being a non-writer, like you said, no degree, no nothing, you just wrote your story.
Right.
And it was good for them. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. English was always my favorite subject.
Well, apparently.
I know. Like, how can you beat that?
Jesus.
Really? Like, that poor girl
just
in the cold with her stringy hair. Like, poor girl.
But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. That you had the empathy, I think, shows up in your book as well. It's like, there's still that empathy for other people. So that was just the beginning. Sky's the limit on that. Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
So in the publishing process, are they American or Canadian?
They're American.
All right. So does that make a difference, like even for spelling? Like I'm thinking about nitpicky things for that because color is different, neighbor is different.
Exactly.
They don't like long sentences.
Yeah.
They're weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did they give you any, like I know they didn't edit anything, but was there like some anyway? Or they just let you fly?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it was kind of a free, free reign.
So then what does it entail when you do you give up your, like your copyright? Or do you retain the rights to the story?
I think I retained the rights to the story.
Let me check.
Sure.
And then, just to make sure.
Please do.
Yeah,
that would be good information.
Dealing with Americans. Okay. One sec. Right. Yeah, you got a copyright. Good girl. Okay, so that's good. When they print, then how does that work out?
I think it's just like you go through Amazon or Chapters, Indigo, stuff like that. So you order your book, and I think it's printed on demand. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's a stock of them.
Oh, so
we've now switched from Inkwater to Ingram Spark, I think it's called now.
Okay.
So they print them, and then they just send whatever.
So if somebody goes up on Amazon, they see the book, and they go, yes, I'd like to buy. Because I remember speaking with you about this, and you had said that there were, like, like different hospitals and stuff have used the book as well? Like you give sessions that way?
Well, what happened was, I have notes on
okay.
this. I have notes on this. See, look, I got so
She's so
far.
prepared.
Yeah, so I began to receive some emails that would probably have been the fall of 2010, I believe. I got some emails from parent bereavement, pregnancy loss support groups in Edmonton, and then after that was Calgary the following fall, and they had invited me to come and speak and share our book in their meetings. They had them once a month, and I was so honored, like that, because our story is no more special or no more important than any other parent that's had the devastation of having to live through this, right? And so I was so honored. And so I did go to Edmonton twice, I believe, and then Calgary, I think we went about 3 years. And so we just shared our stories, and it was healing for myself as well as, sharing, because I was able to hear their stories as well. And then shortly after that, I got an email from a lady that was in charge of loss, basically, from the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. And she said that she, just how much the book had meant to her and to the patients that they cared for there, and that they sent everybody home that was like leaving the hospital with empty arms they put our story in with the package that went home with the people. So I was like, oh, my heart's like,
Wow.
you know, that really touched me, and like it's a nice way to honor Emily too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. She's
So-
in a lot of different homes now.
yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I had no idea, and like how far up it had reached people, right? But yeah, so they do. She said I include a copy with our package that we send home
That's
to parents.
terrific.
Yeah, that was really
So
nice.
they just go straight through Amazon
Mhm.
and get that. I was just.
She'll order like she said she orders like a bunch at a time so
Mhm.
that she has some on hand.
Yeah, right. Because you never know when you're going to need them. So.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. What else did we? Our story was featured on Global Edmonton, the morning news.
Wow.
We've been on CTV for the news.
See, this is not your first interview. What are you talking about? You're like a.
But none of
like
them
a
made
star.
me feel as relaxed as you.
There's no red chair.
I know, right? I don't have you. Like I didn't have either. So yeah, you know. And then I had a little. I don't know if you call it a media package or just like a little information package that I sent out to like libraries, health units, support groups.
Holy crow.
And got a lot of response back from that, you know, saying we're going to be purchasing a copy to have for our group or in our office or whatnot. So
Well, it's fantastic, and that's why it's I think a really good idea that these videos, these chat, what do you call this, an interview thing, is going to be saved on also not only on Facebook but also on the YouTube channel. So it becomes almost like a resource for other people. So, you know, just perusing through it, who knows, they might just hashtag whatever and be able to find exactly the book that they're going to
Right.
read. That's really great.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Well,
Worked
thank
out
you. I'm
so-
honored to. Like when you reached out to me and asked if I would
First one?
do it.
First one.
Thank you. And it was just it touched my heart that you would. You know, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you for.
Well, it's like I said, it's an interesting, not only interesting, but it's like, it's inspiring, you know.
It's a dark place to be. Like,
Yeah. Well, and to come out, not only, like I would have interviewed you maybe about the situation as that, but that you have a book on top of it that I'm not going to say maps out the way to do about it, because I think everybody's
Everybody's
like you said,
so
they
different.
grieve, you know,
Everybody
differently.
grieves so different.
But at least it gives
There's
them
no
an
right or
idea.
wrong way.
Yeah.
And
But it's going to give them an idea that, oh yeah, okay. And I like what you had said too about the you weren't ready to write it right away, and people aren't ready to read it right away either. It's not something we can say, okay, read this, you're going to feel so much better.
No.
It's just it's a step, right? And it's a choice. You read it and then you go, oh, it was the right time.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for other writers or people going through whatever in order to make their quest a little bit easier, or are there steps that you think they could take to promote yourself, to protect yourself, that sort of thing?
That's a good question. Like, I don't consider myself an expert by any means.
Let's say
by
in
any
your
means.
situation.
But yeah,
what,
like
what works for you?
I believe that everybody has within them a story, a gift, a talent, that you can share. That you never know how that gift could impact somebody else, right? Like, so I think it's like so important. You don't need a degree. I don't have a degree, and that's like you have a story or something to share, and like I just would say, you know, if you're out wanting to share a story or your gift, just start somewhere. Like, just put the pen to the paper with some ideas, some thoughts, and then let it flow and let the rest of it fall into place.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You know.
Every day, butt in chair, and just do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't automatically come.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it doesn't happen all at once.
No.
Like, you're not just gonna sit down and you know.
Page
But-
one.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah. Tick.
No, exactly.
But it's good to know that you don't need, you know, a university degree, and it doesn't give you that. Even having a degree is not going to give you that the spark comes from your own experience. And so, like you said, everybody's got that little bit, that diamond thing inside.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether it's going to be to paint or make a beautiful hook rug for the back of your couch, like whatever.
Exactly.
Just get it out there.
Shine your light.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
shine it.
Yeah.
There's no point in keeping it inside, right? You could be helping someone that you don't even know that you did, right?
Yeah. And maybe that's the thing too, is that you, by helping somebody else, you kind of get out of your own head, you get out of your space, and you say,
Totally.
come on, I can help you over here.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Just stop thinking about your own self for a while. That's good.
I like that.
Just came. It's not even written down. Do you, you were talking about promoting or having like a media kit? How in the heck, what do you do
I don't
with
know if
that?
I'm using the right word with that.
No,
like,
probably.
Like it was
probably.
like an little information package,
yeah.
like kind of like what you read out at the beginning,
Yeah.
what the book's about, you know, why am I even contacting you, how I think this might help you in any way, stuff like that, and then the information. It was just like something very small, but
And did you give like a complimentary copy?
I've given out many copies.
My card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and like just from my heart, right? Like, you know, I've given copies here and there.
So, look, that's I think my question is sort of like, how do you organize yourself to know how to do that? Like, where do I send this stuff that I have written? Do you know? Because you
just sat
really
down.
you have to promote yourself. So.
Again, it was another service offered
Oh.
if you paid extra,
Okay.
which I did.
Oh, for somebody to do it for you.
Right, through the publishing company. I could have chosen that.
Yeah.
And I did actually invest in getting it put into their, every once in a while they would put out like promotional flyers with different books and little blurbs about them. So I did actually invest and get it put into there a couple of times.
Oh, just so people can see it, right?
Yeah. So,
And then the rest of it you just do yourself?
yeah, I just did, like, sat down at the computer and, you know, 2, 3 in the morning, and it just
It becomes like a
Google.
full-time job.
Google was my friend.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Wow.
yeah.
So
and
it's
then word of
possible.
mouth too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, especially since you did, like, how was it that the hospital in Los Angeles, how did they get a hold of your book?
I don't know actually.
Wild.
Yeah, like
That's
that it
like,
had
that's
reached
like
that far.
Hollywood stuff. That's like
Oh,
movie
please.
stuff. It's like, oh my god, I'm walking down the street. This guy goes, hey, do you want to be a star? I'm like, yes, I do. Thank you very much. But you know, like, it's kind of cool that it's just opens up. You know, like the internet's there and people just start browsing and there it is. You're a star.
Oh, not by any means.
So are you gonna retire? Do you have like big bags of money and stuff, or?
No, I'm waiting for it. To, like,
Rain bags of
where
money.
does it come down from the sky?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
right?
know. I can't tell you.
I know. I'm waiting
Yeah.
patiently.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was there anything else on the actual process? Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Trying to think. Beginning, middle.
Late
and-
nights, tired,
Yeah,
lots
yeah,
of
yeah.
coffee the next morning because
Yeah.
my toothpicks in my eyeball. Why am I doing that? What is happening?
Yeah,
Like,
the whole. So how long did it take you? You know,
so it would have
like
been,
the whole summer.
yeah, it would have been on the whole summer of 2009.
Wow.
And then kind of into the fall was when I found the publisher, and then it was kind of back and forth. And then it came out February of 2010.
And then it just blew up, and that was it. It's
Not so
stratosphere.
much, but it's out there.
Well, and the important part is too, like you said, it's out there for people who are going to need it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a light read. It's not a you know, those beach type novels or whatever. It's a guide.
Mm-hmm. It's just a sharing of our story, you know, in hopes that it helps. Like if it even helped one person, that's why I wrote it. Like I didn't write it for any other reason. My inspiration was that nobody ever felt alone, because it's a really dark place to be.
Yeah. Well, even with your whole family, like your family around you, you know, you had said if you find somebody who has gone through it,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like you have the same vocabulary, you have the same but there's a nuance there. There's a shading.
You can talk about things
Right.
that it's not okay to talk about with other people.
Yeah.
Because they get it.
Yeah.
Like,
Otherwise, the other person gets uncomfortable.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of, oh, how are you doing? And you say, oh, I'm doing okay, because that's what they want to hear,
Yeah.
right? They don't want to hear the bad stuff,
Well,
the
yeah.
deep stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
so if you can connect with someone that goes, oh, honey, I've been there. I know exactly where you are, like, that's,
Yeah.
it's such a gift. It was such a gift to me, and it was just something I always wanted to pay forward and make sure that no one ever had to feel like they were alone.
Like totally.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like I know you said like in a small town, there was that safety net around
Mhm.
you. But I can imagine that a small town too would feel like a lot of people come here and without that safety net, and so you'd have maybe one or two girlfriends or whatever, but there's not that underlying of big hands, right? So it would come in handy.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note, do you want to read a little bit from
Sure.
Losing Emily?
Now I've kind of spliced some of the chat
Yep.
together instead of just reading all.
You have half an hour, so read whatever you want.
Oh, it won't be half an hour. It's very short and quick, but I will share a little bit here. So, okay. So this was that spring. So this was just after coming home in May, because she was born in May. So it was a dark time for me, that beautiful spring. I felt like I could not feel the warmth of the sun or see the beauty around me. I did not want to open the blinds and let the light in. I took little enjoyment gardening in my backyard or in the beauty of my flowers. I really could have cared less that year. It just meant nothing. I replayed over and over in my head the day of Emily's birth. Every detail, every second etched in my memory. I would rewind the images in my mind as if I was watching a movie and played it over again. People would excitedly tell me about friends or coworkers who were now pregnant, very innocently or not unknowingly, not realizing the pain it caused to a mummy who was still grieving the loss of her own newborn baby. Don't get me wrong, I was genuinely so very happy for them. I truly believe a pregnancy and a baby is a blessing, the most precious gift anyone could receive. This experience that we were living through made that crystal clear to me, but it hurt a lot. It was a reminder of what I had just lost and wanted so desperately to have. I became angry at myself for having those feelings. My sadness and grief at times turned to resentment and heartache. Seeing new babies and pregnant bellies continued to be too much for me. There were times at work when I had to make a quick exit into the bathroom or dash into an empty classroom while I tried my best to fight back the hot, wet tears that stung my eyes. The sight of a new mom with her happy cherub baby invoked panic deep within me. Seeing a cuddly, cooing baby being passed around the room as everyone waited their turn to hold him or her sent a sharp, searing pain right to my heart. Again, a reminder that I too should have a baby, and that was supposed to be me. I was even unable to attend baby showers, others not able to understand why I would politely decline the invitation. I felt like people maybe thought enough time had passed and I should be getting over it and moving on. It just wasn't that easy. As much as I would have liked to be there to celebrate and welcome a new little one to the world, I just wasn't ready. It was still too painful. It took me a long time to even be comfortable holding a baby again, something that always made me feel badly. As time passed and my healing progressed, it did become easier. I'll just...
You still have 20 minutes, go.
I know, as you can tell, it's not a big read, but, it's our story, so, yeah. And that's what also, just what we were just kind of reading about is, I always feel like it's so important to honor people meet them where they are, you know what I mean, and with not trying to fix them, just offering the space to hold with them and honor their feelings, because your feelings where you are so valid, right?
Yeah. Well, even just in the little bit that you read, you can tell that your feelings go from one side to the other.
The whole gamut.
And
the whole
probably
gamut.
often, like during the day, you're not sad like all day.
No.
But you know,
the times, the little triggers.
Yeah.
The times of the day where it hits you, you know, like being busy during the day was a good thing, I think. And then the nights were harder, right? Everyone goes to bed, and then you're with your thoughts. That's when
Well,
that movie starts replaying again, and like,
And during the day, you know, as you're going through, like you said, there's like little triggers and whatever. So you're sad. You look at the mom. You should be happy. She's holding a baby.
Exactly.
I'm not. Why am I not happy? I'm a shitty person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Exactly.
the whole. Yeah. It's really like what a roller coaster, and not to be able to do anything about it. Like during the day, we have to you just go through the day. You know, and it was like, are you okay?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. Exactly. That is so it. Oh my goodness, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising that women don't have like ulcers on the inside of the entire body because it's just keep shoving it back down.
That's right. Yeah, that's me too.
But you got through it. I love it.
Through it.
Through it.
For sure. Through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's a huge big difference. See, you are a writer because you see the huge big difference between through it and over it. Over it is like, yeah, it's behind me.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at that anymore.
Yeah.
But through it, it's like been ripped up by branches and stuff.
Very much
you
so.
know.
Yeah.
So there's always the scars.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. For sure.
Anything else you want to read? You sure?
I'm good.
Are you sure?
I was going to bring my audacity to be clean. You said.
Oh yeah, right. I'll ask you some more questions then. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. Bing bing. 2 words that would describe you at your best.
This is such an interesting question.
I know.
I really like it. So I had to put some thought into it because I'm so glad that you gave me the questions beforehand, or I would have been like
No, this is
blubbering
totally
away.
unscripted. We do this all the time. It's just like.
So I had to put some thought into it, but I think that the 2 words I would say would be grounded for sure, because I can tend to get the squirrel brain, and loved.
Mm.
When I'm not like stressed and worried and I'm feeling loved, and then I definitely think I'm at my best.
So that's safety there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
What does success
Oh, I like this.
look like to you?
I like this one. You know.
She's had 17 cards. 17 cards.
See, that's the need that I like, the research in me that I'm like, oh, I gotta get all this.
Well, it's true. Go
I
ahead.
gotta get this all out. So I guess success to me would be knowing that I've touched the heart of or helped another person. That would make me feel successful.
At least one more. Right? Like at least one more person is okay. Do you have those reviews?
Oh, I do.
I think that
Do you
that's
want me
pretty
to talk about
validating.
now?
Yeah.
So as I came across, I was just looking on Amazon, and I came across the thing at the bottom that says reviews, and I'd never really looked there before. And there were 2 reviews that were quite touching, so I copied them word for word. I didn't include the names, but there were 2 of them, so I'll read them to you. The first one being, I got this book 10 years ago when we lost our firstborn son. We later had a miscarriage 2 years ago. I was only ready to read it in the last few days, sorry. This book is very well written and insightful. Losing Emily reminds us that we are not alone in our losses and to take one day at a time. So I was really touched by that. And then the other one is much shorter. It just said, love this book. It gave me a sense of peace after losing my daughter this past May. It also gave me hope. So I was like, that's exactly why it's there.
Yeah.
That's exactly, why I wrote that.
So you're a success.
Well, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. Because that's what you wanted to do.
The book was there to
Yeah.
when they needed it.
Absolutely.
In their journey, in their healing, the book was there for them, and that touches me.
What a great feeling to know, like, just tick my box. That's good. I'm done. You got a book that works and works for people, and you wrote it for a specific reason, and it's fulfilled that reason. So that's beautiful.
It really touched my heart to read that. Yeah, and I've gotten. I was not able to find that box, but I have a box at home before we moved, and it's still there. I just don't know exactly, can't pinpoint where it is, but it's a little box full of things I've gotten in the mail from parents or group leaders or things like that, just sharing their stories and saying how our story impacted them on their healing as well. So
Wow.
those are pretty special to me.
You gotta find that box.
I'm gonna find that box. I'm gonna find that box.
That would be the next step.
Right?
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
So would that be your dream job, to find that box? Because that's the next question. So what would be your dream job?
My dream job.
Yeah. Have time to go through all the boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one little box, but it's full of.
Yeah. Where is it though?
I know, right? It like keeps me up at night.
Well, it will now.
It will
Sorry.
now.
Sorry,
Yeah.
shouldn't have brought it up. So you're not working anymore at school?
No, I haven't been for a couple of years, like COVID, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Keep forgetting about that.
Well, how could you forget about such a? I think my dream job is one I've already had. I have, and that's being a mom.
It doesn't pay that well.
The
though.
pay is not great.
No.
But it's something I knew at an early age. I just always wanted to be a mom.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that's I'm still doing my dream job, I
Yeah,
guess,
right.
in some ways. And
Yeah, you don't get to retire from that one, I don't think.
yeah. But if I were to dream up a job, I do love editing and researching and all that. So if anyone's looking for anyone, I'm available.
Well, that's a great segue. We didn't even record or rehearse this part, but Elsa Ross, who's coming in next week,
Right.
part of her job, she's an editor,
Oh,
and she does research.
I love doing that.
I know.
I know. It's
So
like
you should come and you should talk to her.
I know.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll do a 3 on the couch. Well,
maybe
3
not on the
people
couch.
sitting on. Well, she could sit there on the couch. That would be so. That's really cool. Stuff
I love it. I've always been like that. Like I had friends in English class in high school that would be like, "Hey, can you just proofread this for me?" I gotcha. I'll read it.
Well, maybe that's why it was so easy for you to edit the book.
But it's also, I think, in a way, a little bit difficult because they're your words.
Yeah.
So when you're reading it and you're like trying to go back and edit it, your brain knows what you're trying to say, and so even though there's a mistake there, you kind of just jump out. You're like, yeah, but So
It's true.
I really had
That's
to go
really
many times
Yeah.
back, and I'm like, oh, how did I miss that?
Yeah.
Like,
Because being a teacher for a couple of years, when kids would read it, they'd read it out loud. Because I say that's one way to edit is just read your stuff
absolutely.
out loud, right?
Yeah.
But your brain is so smart that it reads the word. It's like NDA, and you read it as and.
Yeah.
And you just do, and you fix it as you read it.
Right.
Oh my God, this is so frustrating.
I know.
So
totally.
they
right.
read stuff backwards as
Yeah.
well, just to make sure that they could catch it.
Oh yeah.
Even like on the computer, it underlines it in red, and they're like, yeah, and they don't even see the red anymore.
No,
So,
it's so true.
yeah,
so
it's
true.
a whole, and to edit is a different art than writing it. It's like 2 different parts of your brain.
Yeah.
Whether it's fiction or nonfiction or whatever. So
Oh, for sure.
this sounds like you created a job, became the CEO, and then now you just like reap the rewards and know that you did a good job because it's successfully touched the people that you wanted to touch.
And that's why that's why I wrote it.
Yeah, right.
That's the only reason why.
I think
just
that's
to
why.
offer
Yeah, and I think
peace,
that's why
hope.
people would do it. Like
You
would
know?
like it because it's really honest.
Thank
It
you.
really is. Okay, so what are you reading now?
Oh,
You're not writing a book, so you must be
No.
reading a book.
I am. I'm reading, and it's quite the book. It's called The Audacity to Be Queen by Gina DeVee.
Wow.
And it's basically, I haven't gotten very far into it because that's another one of my goals is I love reading and I kind of got away from it for a while. So I'm committing to you all. I'm going to start chunking time off that's my time and I'm just
People
gonna
can
read.
check on her and make sure she's reading.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I missed that. So I've just kind of gotten into the book, but she's so funny and it's a really powerful written book, and she starts out by she's like, there's a queen inside every one of you that's screaming to to be empowered.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna rip into this one. So yeah,
Get your own
to be
dinner,
continued.
Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is it a true story? Is it a fiction? Is it nonfiction?
It's like, yeah, empowering, how to empower yourself and let the queen out, and you know.
Oh, so like Margot.
Absolutely.
Okay.
She is.
Margot Sheldon. Just a little
Yes.
plug there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
She's like the queen of the queens.
Big crown.
That's right.
Any good Netflix series or movies or something that you've seen?
Yes. We like to watch a variety of stuff, but right now we are hooked on A Million Little Things, which this season is actually has Aaron Karpluk, which is another Jasperite,
Oh,
and in the season. So I'm glued, and I love it. It's one that when we first found it, I hadn't realized it was also on TV. So we kind of binge watched it, you know, like when you're like, next episode.
Gotta
I
do
can
it.
do one more.
I can do it.
So we got really hooked on that one, and This Is Us, you know, the sappy rom-com ones.
Yeah. Such a weird collection of characters in that one, though.
Yeah.
You know, at the first I'm watching, going, what? How are they? What?
And it's hard to piece together because you're like over here, and
So
then
much
they're going back
flashback.
over here, and
so
I'm
much
like,
flashback.
yeah. So, but we really like it. So.
And I think that's how they suck you in, is that you have to figure out, you have to be there next time to figure it out again, and more and more and more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's this Million Little Things? What's it about?
It's the story, like, it was kind of baffling at first because it was a lot like This Is Us, where it's like this story and that story, but then they all came together. Like, you started out with, like, I don't know how many characters there are, like, I'm just throwing a number out, like 4 or 5 different people, but then you found out that they're all best friends.
Oh,
so it all
like 5 different
interlinks again.
stories.
Yeah, and then
wow.
then after, when you figure that out, you get to see their, you know, daily life of the 5 friends together and the struggles they go through. And
so what does Erin play?
she was the wife of the bad man.
Oh.
He was a very bad man and did some bad things to some younger girls that he was teaching. He was teaching music to. And so he was in a position of, you know,
authority.
Yeah, and she was his wife, and had no idea that any of this is. She plays a lovely woman, like she's so sweet as her character and her person, but as her character that she's playing on the show, I had no idea. So it was kind of tragic.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is she a main character?
No.
She's not one of those.
No. Well, this season she's coming around. Like, she's in it a lot more now, as she's with. I hope I'm not giving away too much information. With one of the main characters now, so it's interesting.
You know, I bet you they
watching.
just saw Erin and they're going, she needs a bigger part.
Yes.
That girl needs
I know,
a bigger
right?
part.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I saw her in the film Luna.
Okay.
She's a wild life conservationist on the coast, and there's the killer whale.
Yes, that's
And I thought,
right.
oh my God, she's
about that.
so good.
She's
So
amazing.
I had that in class. Dale gave me a copy,
Oh,
and I
nice.
thought, oh no, actually it's really, really good.
Nice.
And being Erica,
yes.
and then she was on. I just saw her on something else, Maid.
Yeah, you and I were discussing that.
And she just like shows up. I'm like, I know that person. I
Isn't
know that person.
crazy?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jasper and the Genius, I'm telling you, we're everywhere. And just spread out, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of talent out of Jasper.
Oh, no kidding. Small town, but lots of stuff going on, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't think we could do it, but I think we're just about at an hour, so.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it just
I
flies.
totally didn't think we could. Right? I know.
Boo! So that's the one with Tammy Anderson. And come with us next week for our next Genius Loci session with Ayla Ross, who's also incredibly cool. So, see you then.